Episode 7, a Brazilian Polyglot. Hello and welcome. Today I'm excited to invite my first ever guest onto the podcast. I would like to introduce you to my friend Juana Olila, a Brazilian polyglot who is passionate about learning and teaching languages. Juana also lives in São Paulo, where she has her own online school called English Pills, where she teaches to all levels of English students. Juana has an excellent level of English. However, this is a normal conversation, so at times we do speak quite quickly. Therefore, if you find it difficult to understand at any moment, then I recommend that you read the free transcript available for this episode at schoolofduda.com. It is the best way to develop your comprehension and expand your vocabulary. With all that said, let's begin. Here is Juana Olila. Okay, welcome, Juana, to the School of Duda English podcast. You are my first guest on this podcast, so it's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you so much. I didn't know I was the first one. Wow,
Yeah,
okay, good.
First one today, so
Thank you so much, that's an honor.
Yeah. So, it's a pleasure to finally meet you face to face because we've known each other for a year or two now, I think.
Yeah, something around that, yeah.
Yeah. And we recorded a British expressions workshop course together.
Exactly.
Yeah. So lovely to see you in person. So let's begin. So tell me when you first started learning languages and how many languages you speak.
Well, it all started when I was 8 and my mom decided it was time for me to learn English. Actually, my father was against it because he said it was too soon, but my mom just went ahead and enrolled me. So I took my first year in a school here in Brazil that is called CCAA. And after that, my mom said, no, you're not learning fast enough. Let's change it. So I went to another school, which is FISC. I stayed there for 3 years. And finally, my mom decided again to change me, and then I went to Cultura Inglesa, where I stayed for 6 years. So in total, I was studying English from 8 until 18. For you guys who are listening, that this doesn't mean that you need 10 years to learn English. I was already fluent when I was about 13, 14. I could totally communicate. But you can always improve, you know. Then when I was about 16, I started taking French. By the age of 17, Spanish, and in university and also in the technique course I took in tourism, we had languages. We had more classes of English and Spanish, and in the meantime I was always taking French that I loved very much, and I've been, I think, almost all the way of university I was in Aliança Francesa. It was really nice. Then, when I finally left university, I started working on cruise ships, and then I learned Italian and a little bit of German that I don't remember much anymore. So, yeah, that's pretty much that.
Okay, cool. So that's what, it's obviously your native language is Portuguese because you're Brazilian. Mm-hmm. So then English, French, Spanish,
and
German, Italian.
Italian, for sure. I teach also Italian, French, and English. But Spanish, German, I almost don't remember much of it anymore. So, yeah. But it's nice.
Cool. I'm just going to start the camera because I forgot to press record.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
1 second. First mistake.
It happens.
Okay, so you teach languages. You have your own language school online. You obviously have learnt a lot of languages. You're a polyglot. Are you actively learning languages on a daily basis? And if so, what is your routine like for learning languages?
Actually, I should be, because as you know, my boyfriend is Polish. So I was supposed to be learning it so I can communicate with my family there and everything. But I actually stopped to focus on my business. But basically, when I am studying, I try to get the basic grammar, which is like an skeleton of the language, so you can include vocabulary, you can include pronunciation from the beginning, which is something that I always tell students, like, if you don't know a word, just go dig into it as until you get it, because if you start by learning it wrong, it's much more difficult to get it right later. And this happens also in Portuguese with a lot of people who say words in the wrong way, wrong pronunciation, etc. This also happens in Portuguese, and it's already hard for these people to swift. Imagine with a foreign language. So I try to come from grammar and include a lot of vocabulary, listen a lot with movies, with videos, with music especially. I've always used music with all the languages I speak. From the beginning, I would find a singer or a band that I really liked, and I took all the lyrics and started getting the vocabulary, the grammar inside of it, the expressions especially, because they are a bit tricky. You go like, wait, this with this doesn't really work, doesn't really make sense. And then when you realize it's an expression, and by doing that, you get more, how can I say, you get more, smart about them. You already know that, okay, this doesn't really fit, so probably is an expression. Yeah. But this takes time and practice.
Experience.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. But no, I agree completely. So the most recent language I learned was Spanish, and my approach for this language was not to speak for the first 6 months. So it was purely just input, lots of listening, reading, and the idea behind that is if you speak too soon, you can make mistakes with pronunciation and learn the pronunciation wrong, and it's really hard to correct it afterwards. So this is kind of my approach now with new students, is to kind of encourage them to get, maybe 500, 1,000 hours of input, of listening and reading before they start to speak. And yeah, I think it's kind of counterintuitive, because often new students, they just want to, I want to speak from day one. But I think from my experience, this approach works well.
I see your point, and I add that it's also important to notice how close your language is from the language you're learning.
Yeah.
Because, for example, from Portuguese to Spanish or Italian, I don't think it's such a big deal to just try to make short sentences because of pronunciation, because it can be a bit confusing. First of all, this triangle of languages, it's quite complicated, because when I was working on the ship, we had people who spoke Portuguese, mainly Brazilians. We had Spanish, people who spoke Spanish from a lot of different countries in South America and also Spain. And we also had the Italians. When there was an Italian trying to learn Spanish and Portuguese, they would get confused with these two languages. And the same for the rest of the triangle. Like if you speak one language of your native language, the other two would get confused between them. So the experience of learning by doing, by seeing what is going on and everything, as I did when I learned Italian, gave me also this feeling that no, I have to try firsthand, because it is so tricky, so hard to separate the boxes, like Spanish and Italian. I was like, my God. It was,
because they're so close, right?
Yes, it was vital to learn the words and try to separate them as soon as you could. Otherwise, you're gonna make like a fruit salad and you could never, put things aside. So I think it depends on the language too.
Okay, cool. So, are there any other languages that you'd like to learn in the future? You mentioned you kind of started Polish. Is that
Polish? Something that I find very beautiful is Arabian.
Yeah, Arabic or Arabian languages? I don't know.
Yeah, no, Arabic. I find it nice. I recently watched a reality show. It's on Netflix called, in Portuguese they say, I think it's Bling Up, something like that. Or is it right? Bling Up?
Bling Up. Yeah, I don't know.
Or Blind Up. I don't know if it's an expression. I didn't check it. But in Portuguese it's Dubai ostentação.
I think, yeah, like bling as in like flashy,
flashy with money. Yeah,
with money and you're showing off.
That's the thing. And I really liked it because they speak half Arabic, half English, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I like how it sounds.
Yeah, the Arabic language sounds beautiful.
Yeah,
It sounds really
yeah.
beautiful. I recently watched a Turkish series on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually like watching it dubbed in Spanish, but every now and again it would switch back to Turkish. So I'd listen to a little bit, and obviously
Okay.
didn't understand anything, but it sounds, yeah, so like beautiful and different.
Yes, it is nice. I've been there when I was in 2013. Yeah, was my last contract working on board, and basically I was there from April until October. Every week we had 2 days in Turkey, one day in Izmir and another day in Istanbul, and it's fascinating. And they are super flexible. I remember that at the time there was a soap opera here in Brazil, a little bit before that the parts of the soap opera were recorded in Istanbul, and there was all the the plot was between Brazil and Turkey. So a lot of Brazilians were going to Turkey to get to know the country. So they had learned Portuguese because they had this I don't know, this enormous amount of Brazilians is coming up, and they have, oi, tudo bem?
So they just
Well,
learned
what?
how to.
Actually, first they
communicate.
think I'm French. Somehow I speak French, that I'm from Africa or maybe French. Then I say, okay, I speak French, but I'm not French, I'm Brazilian. And then they started speaking in Portuguese, and I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
You know, they just picked up the language
Amazing
like that.
how quick they are to pick up a
Exactly.
new language.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, do you feel that learning languages has influenced your personality or your perspective of the world in any way?
Definitely. Totally. From the beginning, I remember I was 8, 9, and I was learning this, and I was like, is it really true? Do people really speak other languages in other countries? Because I was just a child. I didn't have this dimension of the world, how things worked, and you could travel to different places and everything. And my family wasn't the type of family that would travel abroad. Like, we had family in other states, so we would travel and visit them, go to the beach, go to the countryside. That was basically our types of travel. These were our types of traveling. So it totally changed my perspective, and I thought, no, someday I want to go, I don't know, maybe to London, maybe to New York, maybe, I don't know, or any other country, maybe Australia someday. And as I was growing up, because of the language, I chose my profession. I chose to take tourism in university. And also because of the language, I chose that someday I would travel the world and everything. So basically, when I presented my final project at university on the Monday. On Friday, I was in Savona, in Italy,
Wow.
embarking. Yes, basically 4 days later, we rushed the teachers. We were the first group to present because in a few days I had to be in Europe, and I started working abroad. And then I met all the countries I met. I've been to all the places I've been. So yes, it made totally difference in my life. And after I came back to Brazil, I worked here and there. Then I started my own business teaching, and then today I have my business because of English. Today I can share everything that I've learned, because it's not only the language, it's the culture, the expressions, the way people think. And when you travel abroad, it's like your mind goes,
Yeah.
opens up totally. And you get to see the world with the different perspectives, certainly, yeah.
Yeah. So from learning languages, you had the opportunity to work on a cruise boat, right?
Yes.
And I imagine that was an incredible experience for learning languages, but just for life. So I've had like hundreds of students over the years, and one of my favorite or proudest moments with a student was a Brazilian guy. So he came to me with like basically no English. And he said, James, please, teach me English. I need to pass this test to go to work on a cruise ship. And his dream was to be a cleaner on a cruise ship. And so he studied with me for, I think, 6 months and took the test, passed. Wow. And then, we became friends on Facebook. And every week he'd send me a picture of him in the Caribbean or in Italy, And, you know, this is like the first time he traveled outside Brazil, and he got an award for being like the best employee on the boat one month.
Wow.
And yeah, and just a really nice guy. And yeah, I think like, I was really happy that I was able to help him to achieve this experience. And now he travels the world working on cruise ships.
Yeah, I never thought in my life that at the age of 25 I would have been to about 20 countries, you know, because I had traveled before. I had been to Argentina, I had been to France, Spain, and Italy. And then I finally started embarking, right? But the thing is not only the countries, because in one of my contracts, we had these special tours in around France and Italy. So we visit a lot of different small cities that usually are not in a regular itinerary, because this group of French had booked the trip, they had booked the boat just for them with their itinerary. So I went to places like, I tell people that I've been to Siracusa or Olbia in south of Italy, and they go like, "What? How come you have been to these places like Salerno?"
A random
Also,
place
yeah,
that tourists don't go to.
and really beautiful, really beautiful. Like I would like to go back to Olbia because I didn't really get the chance to go to the beach there, and it's out of this world. Just like go to Google and go Olbia pictures, and then you'll see how beautiful that place is. So I've been to places that like Portofino, which is a very fancy city in the north next to Genova. Was also something that people say, "You've been to Portofino?" I say, "Yes, I've been there," you know. So and it was all because of the languages, and especially in my case because of French, because basically everybody speaks English, you know. Like when you talk about like working internationally, everybody speaks English, but when you go down to learning more not different languages, but something out of English that gives you like, okay, this is different. And basically they wanted me because of the French, because they have a lot of French people on board and everything. And I kind of became the specialist of dealing with French. I knew the problems already. I knew what they were going to complain about already, like the air conditioning or noises. Like it's too much for them, you know. So. So I already knew how to deal with them. So yes, and it all started with English.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah, most people on the boat can speak some level of English, but
Yes.
not many people can speak French like you or some other languages.
Yes.
And so it makes you more valuable. And
Or some of them spoke like Spanish and English, for example, because Spanish was their native language. But to work in the reception, you have to speak more languages, because it's the place where the passengers feels welcomed, because the rest of the ship basically people speak English. Like you have Philippines, you have Indonesians, and they usually don't speak other languages. Very rare actually. I think it's difficult for them from their language to come to a Latin language is quite complicated. So I only met one Philippine girl who spoke a little bit of German, and it was like wow, and Italian too.
And before you said, it started embarking. So that basically means like when you started working on the ship, is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. From like the verb to embark. Okay. If you had one piece of advice for people to be successful at learning a language, what would it be?
To be consistent. That's the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you're studying by yourself, an online course, a private teacher, in a group, whatever. Just go ahead. The amount of people that come to me that saying, "Oh, I studied from this year to that year, then I forgot everything. Then I have to start it all over from where I started in the past." And I say, yes, be consistent. Just go forward. And another thing, apart from being consistent, actually is not only be consistent, but do it every day. I know some people don't agree with that, but for me, it's an everyday thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think, consistency, discipline, and do something every day. So it could be like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever.
Exactly.
But if you build it into your habit, so, wake up and brush your teeth, I don't know. Learn some languages. And every day I cook something. And while I cook, I listen to some Spanish or Portuguese.
Yes.
So it's just my habit, you know, and
Exactly.
it's kind of effortless to just incorporate.
In the beginning, it's gonna be discipline. There's no way out. But as you go forward, this discipline becomes a habit, so it's easier. You just go with the flow, and as you see you're evolving, you feel more excited about it. So it's not a burden anymore. You just go with the flow. So consistency is the key.
Is there a book or a blog, podcast, YouTube channel in English that you would recommend to this audience?
There is a YouTube channel that doesn't have to do with learning English specifically, but there is a YouTube channel called Pickup Lines. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a girl that lives in Holland.
Pick up lines? Or
limes.
Limes, like the fruit?
Limes, the fruit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I really like it because she's vegan, and she shows a lot of nice recipes. Not that I'm vegan, but I love that kind of food and cooking and everything. And it's nice because she always talk how to live an easy life, like, you know, just go with the flow, saying no for things that don't really matter, because otherwise, you know, with this crazy life that we live, especially living in the city, and not like, you have parks, but it's not the same as, I don't know, going to the beach or the countryside, something like that. So and she has very nice English, easy to understand, so it's a mixture of like way of living with English. So yeah, that would be a nice channel to follow.
Great. Yeah, great tips. I'll leave a link to that in the transcript for anyone who's interested. But yeah, I think that's it. You basically want to find content that doesn't have to be about learning languages, but something you're interested in. So if you're interested in cooking or food, like everybody loves food, so yeah, that's the perfect kind of material to you know, improve your English.
Yeah, exactly. And then she has like the vocabulary is general, so you get to learn more of the basic English you need to communicate.
So you're a language teacher like me, so I'm always curious to ask, you know, what's one of the best and the worst things about teaching languages?
The best is to see students evolving and excited about the process, because it is a process. It takes time, takes practice. So I've received from 3 students recently. 2 went to New York and came back really excited about the experience they had, and they felt more at ease to speak and to listen and everything. So this is the most amazing part for me. And another one that works in a multinational, she said that finally she approached a foreigner and she joined the conversation. So, and she was always, you know, Skyping.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really, really exciting. What is annoying is that some people want results without working.
Yeah.
That's really annoying. They don't take classes, they cancel a lot, they I'm not saying like homework as it used to be back then. Homework today can be anything, basically. So doing more than just attend classes.
Yeah.
And wanting a lot, like amazing results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have, you know, students like that, and they arrive first class and they want to learn English, but they don't want to put the work in, basically.
Yeah.
They don't want to go through the process.
Or worst of all, they ask you, how
Yeah.
much time do you make me fluent? Say, I don't make anybody fluent.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like impossible to say,
Yeah.
right? You can't. So yeah, I totally agree with that one. Okay, so this next question, not necessarily about learning languages, but is there anything that you think you do too much of now that you may regret later in life, say 10 years from now?
Procrastinating?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just postponing things sometimes is annoying. I try to stick to my agenda. Like, I had to cancel last week because I was sick, but that was something different. But I don't usually cancel, or I don't like that. But procrastinating is something complicated to deal with. But like, we're humans. It's every day being a little bit better.
Yeah, we're slightly addicted to procrastinating, our phones, these sorts of things. So yeah, I agree. It's funny actually. So last week, after you said you were sick and you had to cancel, I got the flu the next day. So I had the flu all last week. It was terrible. Just recovered at the weekend. So yeah, it's a good job we cancelled.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a negative experience in your life which you wouldn't want to repeat but has made you stronger?
Working on the ship, I think I wouldn't come back because it's intense. You work long hours for many months. You don't have like a day off. It doesn't really exist. But yes, it made me much stronger and much more resilient, and a person who doesn't know. How can I say? Just doesn't go crying for anything that happens. I saw people on the ship like 1 week there, and they were like, "Oh, I can't take this anymore. I'm gonna leave." It's like, come on, work on that resilience a little bit, because it's hard. You are away from your family, from your friends, and there are days that are not okay. That you go home. That you go to your cabin and you just cry, and then your family calls. How's everything? Amazing. I'm fantastic. Like what's the point of calling and saying, no, I'm not okay today, this and that happened. So no, I'm fine. Like I'm physically I'm okay. I'm working. I have my friends here. So but it wasn't easy. But besides all the odds, we had amazing experience, like being in the fjords in Norway, or being in Russia. Like when I was there in St. Petersburg, I looked around me and said, my gosh, what am I doing here? I'm so far from home.
Amazing contrast of cultures.
Exactly. And people would look at me in the streets because like being black, and I remember it was me, a friend of mine who was German, and she was blonde with blue eyes, and one guy from Argentina that looked European, and a guy from Paraguay. We were all four together walking in St. Petersburg, and I remember one of them saying, wow, everybody looks at her. And they're like, of course, Diana is beautiful. And I said, no, it's not her, it's you. And I was like, and I hadn't even realized, But because I was so different, of course, people would look. But yes, that's an experience I'm going to take for the rest of my life.
Yeah, you can stand out in Russia and get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But and I had some good friends who did the cruise boat ship experience, so working on cruise ships. Mm-hmm. And for them, they always say, they tell me so many stories, and it's like one of the best experiences of their life. But it's so intense, like it's such hard work. You work non-stop for months and months. You kind of burn out. Yeah. So I imagine it's very challenging, very difficult at times. But probably best when you're young, right? And you're 20s,
and you don't have kids or somebody waiting for you home. Yeah, for sure. And when I said you should try with your family, like as a tourist.
Okay, yeah. Yes, one day I would love to try a cruise ship.
It's cool. It's a different experience. You don't get much time to really get to know the cities where you're going to, but the magic of being in a ship is enjoying everything it offers. So that's the thing.
What concerns you or excites you about the future in general, or about the future of learning languages?
What I think is really exciting about learning languages is that we're getting together more and more, each time more, especially after the pandemic. We're more connected even though we are away. So the necessity of speaking other languages were even higher than before. So, and another thing is that people who are learning now have to bear in mind that they could be teachers in the future as well. Even if it's just like a second income or something extra, but still, sharing knowledge is the best way to learn it.
Yeah, agree
completely. It's just amazing. I like to teach, no matter what. I also give lectures because I'm a coach and a behavior analyst. So putting all of this together gives a combination that empowers people to really go forward and speak, because they want to speak, but they are afraid to speak. So with coaching, I found a way to use tools and exercises to make them, let it out. Something that concerns me is that more and more people want things in an easy way, especially the young ones. I don't know, here where I'm working, people are not treating me right. They're not treating me the way I should be treated. Or I didn't get the promotion I should have had, I don't know, last year. And say, yes, but what exactly are you doing to get that promotion, So it really concerns me that they are not into studying nor working. So how are things going to be in the future, because economy moves by having people giving jobs and people getting jobs, and for that study is essential. And we are now in a culture that is lifelong study. Like you're going to study forever, basically, no matter what, because there are always new things coming, and if you stop, you're not only stopped, you're going back. So this is something that concerns me, like people not wanting to really do something about it. And it's for themselves. It's not that I'm going to do this for James. No, it's like for me, my future. How are this, like in this book, in Sapiens, they are Homo Deus. I don't remember which one exactly. They talk about something like that. There will be people in the future that they will have no knowledge able to give them a job. So governments and society will have to find a way to provide for these people. So this concern.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're increasingly getting more and more amazing technology. So I mean, just Netflix, the fact that you can watch a TV series and you can choose from 20 different languages. That to me is incredible.
If I had that when I was studying English,
exactly.
My gosh, I would have learned in half of the time.
Yeah.
Because even on Disney Plus, you have Polish. Like sometimes my boyfriend we would watch things in Polish so I could listen to it a little bit. So you have in all languages basically. So you can just explore.
The same. When I learned German, I didn't have any content to listen to. So I think that's amazing. And, like Instagram, we can connect with people all over the world, learn languages through listening to them. But at the same time, the negative sides of these technology, like Instagram, is it fragments our attention span. And we have problems now concentrating for more than 5 or 10 minutes. And if you want to read a book, and after 10 minutes, you're like, I've got to look at Instagram. And, so this is a real problem for studying and learning languages because it does require focus, and sometimes you have to focus for an hour. Yeah, exactly. So just, one of the problems we face, I think, with new technology.
After the pandemic, I really had problems into reading because before I was up and down. So I was reading while I was commuting. And if there was too much noise, I would just put a headphone and just go for it. And now I basically stay home. I didn't have the habit of reading at home, so it's a bit hard. And apart from that, like every 5 minutes you have to check this thing, your phone. And like, why? I didn't have to do that before. Why am I doing that so much right now? And it's like 3 years from the pandemic till here, and then and this is also really nice because it proves that we can adapt, and we can adapt easily. So if we could adapt into a bad habit, we can also adapt into a good habit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But we have to put in effort into it.
Mm-hmm. But and I'm the same. Like when I was younger, I used to read for hours and hours a day when I had time to read. And now it's really sad, I start reading, and after like half an hour, I'm really enjoying the book, But I just have to get my phone out my pocket and have a look, and I look at Instagram, there's nothing interesting there, and then I put it back in my pocket, and it's just like, why am I doing that? And it's the habit that, breaks my concentration.
I'm working on that. Sometimes you want to check the weather, and then you open Instagram and say, what am I doing here?
Yeah. Okay, so final question. Do you have a slang word or expression in Portuguese that is like an expression that's similar to English that you use that you could share with the audience?
Let me think. There is something really nice about Portuguese that we don't have in English, is that we have few expressions that are so Brazilian. And then my boyfriend asked me me sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know. But I remember that he was always saying like "tamo junto." He learned this, and it's an expression that's like I've got your back, you know. And it's a
Tamo
nice
junto.
expression. Tamo junto, like estamos juntos.
Like we are together.
Yeah, but whatever it goes, like tamo junto, like I'm coming with you. We're going to do this together, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it would be a nice expression.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, so I don't think I knew that one. So you've taught me a new expression.
Really?
Tamo
Okay.
junto. So it's like, yeah, you've got my
It's
back.
very informal,
Or
yeah.
We've got each other's back. Like,
It's really informal, and then part of my family is supportive of Corinthians, and they try to persuade him to be Corintiano here in Brazil and everything, and then he's like, yeah, tamo junto, and then my mom goes for São Paulo, and my mom said, no, Corinthians, no. And he goes, I'm sorry, I cannot go against my mother-in-law, you know, it's complicated, and, you know, but tamo junto, like.
Yeah, everyone I meet in Brazil, they try and sort of brainwash me into supporting their team.
Yeah. I thank God I'm not into it. Like I like soccer, like World Cup. It's nice, but I'm more into volleyball than soccer.
Ah,
yeah.
cool.
I
Yeah.
like it more. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Right. So we've come to the end of the podcast. So it's been an absolute pleasure. I feel like I could talk to you all day. But I'm sure we've already gone way over the time. So
Talk too much.
but yeah, it's been no. It's been great. So yeah, maybe in the future we can do more podcasts and we can talk about other things. Or
Yeah, even invite more people.
yeah,
Up
yeah,
to you.
Yeah. But that was wonderful. So thank you very much. Right?
Thank you, and thank you for being me the first one to be invited to come. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Well, I hope everybody's enjoyed listening to that. And yeah, remember there's a free transcript to download at schoolofduda.com. And yes, until next time. Thank you.